Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of AWS reInvent 2021. This is the Keynote recap live stream. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're going out on YouTube, but also on LinkedIn. So please send us your comments, send us your questions, send us your hellos. And as you do that, I'll get everybody here to introduce yourselves. Should we go around in order? I'm going to point that way. Adam, let us know who you are.
Hi, I'm Adam Divall. I'm a principal consultant in a cloud platform engineering team in the UK for an AWS partner.
Thank you very much, Adam. Should we go down now, Jen? Hey, Jen, how are you going?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jenn Bergstrom. I'm a senior director at Parsons Corporation, which is an international company that deals with a lot of different customers in a lot of different cloud environments, primarily AWS, but also including GCP and Azure and Oracle Cloud. Did I say that with a straight face? I did.
Oh, dear. Yes.
Wrong way. There we go.
That way.
That way.
How are you? Well, I'm Carlos Cortez, AWS Hero, and from Peru. And I'm a senior cloud architect right now at Lomans. And that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much. All Carlos, regular watchers of the channel would have seen you before. Jen, regular watchers of the channel, have seen you before as well. Adam, hello. Thank you for coming and joining us for the first time. And I gathered all of us here today to talk about the keynote presentation that happened today. So this was Adam's first keynote. First off, just really quickly, marks out of 10. How did he do for his first keynote presentation? I thought it was a little bit wobbly to start with, but I think he really got into it. I think... I don't know, 8 from me.
I'd say 7 compared to what I've seen of Andy in the past. It looked
Andy's
like
had experience though, right? I'm just cutting Adam some slack here, but yeah.
Yeah, so the only thing I would say is it looked like he was reading off of the TV screen, should we say, down below him.
Sure, which
that would be because he was, yeah. I think I would give him I'll split year two's numbers and give him a 7.5. I felt like, as you said, Mike, he started a little bit slow, but he did kind of hit his stride and get a little more comfy. I appreciated his quieter energy. He still was enthusiastic. You could tell he loved what he was talking about, but it was a little lower key than what we've seen in previous keynotes.
I think that's fair. Carlos, were you actually in the hall during the keynote?
Yes. Actually, I was not in the first line, but I may say that it's like in the 7. So it was quite good. A lot of people, too crowded. And, I think it was 7.5 also.
Okay.
But it's quite different from different years. Totally different from Andy, comparing to Andy. I think both feels, I don't know, the emotions totally different. Because, for example, in previous... I felt that Andy is more exciting about all the news, and he's living every launch when he said something like, "I'm glad to announce," and his smile on his face. I don't know, it's really awesome, and the people are just with their smartphones. If it's something really in the second that he's just saying that, all people are just filming it. It's really awesome. But what I have to say about this first keynote of Adam was the focus. For example, on other keynotes, Werner or Andy focus on superpowers of AWS, and we talk about different kind of superpowers. To have superpowers to I don't know, to make you faster and to make you, I don't know, powerful, indestructible. I don't know. You remember, guys, the symbol of Superman and superpowers like that. So this is like different. I feel like this is Pathfinders. Like
that was the theme, right? The theme was Pathfinder.
The theme was Pathfinders, and I think it's different focus, more in depth of what we have to think about cloud computing, make our way easier. Go back to the roots and see what is actually cloud computing evolving from our needs, but from the root. I think that is very essential that Adam did, and it's very special. I know Lots of people was expected to be more aggressive, a lot of announcement one after another, boom, 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 boom. But it was not like that, and I'm happy about that because in last year, and you guys can tell me, um, Andy threw, I don't know, 20 AWS services in one day. It was awesome explosion. But then in Swami ML Keynote, it not was too much like a boom. And afterwards in the burner, nothing. Just a conversation,
Mm.
innovation, how developers, but nothing as an explosion as Andy. So I think this is more balancing the keynotes in this reinvent. So this is actually that makes me happier that
Do
Adam
you,
set this down.
yeah. Do you think that maybe there's going to be more? So there's going to be a spread of the announcements throughout the different keynotes. I'm
Yeah.
getting that sense too, right? Because
Of course, of course.
yeah,
Well,
it's the things that weren't mentioned in this keynote are some of the more surprising things for me, I suppose. Hinton, just putting that comment up there on YouTube, please. If you are watching, then feel free to throw comments at us and questions or whatever. But yes, nothing in this presentation about sustainability really surprised me. Yeah, maybe we should get into what was announced. We'll go through that, and then we can sort of pick that apart a bit more as well. Jenn, you've also just had the benefit of having spoken about this already at a session at reInvent, because it's worth pointing out that yes, I'm not at reInvent itself. Adam, you're not, but Carlos and Jenn, you are, which is why you were in the hall for the presentation. Let's go with the top picks. Let's start with the best and the most relevant, and we'll sort of work our way down. We don't necessarily have to do the order it was presented in, but Jenn, bring us a first topic to discuss.
So just a quick comment about the general revelations for today. They felt more incremental rather than big bang in all of the different services that were released and the new instance types and that type of thing. But it really felt like the introversion that we've all been forced to do over the last year and a half as a result of the pandemic has been echoed and mimicked in the way that they're releasing the services for AWS this year as well. And I actually thought that was a really cool way to do it. It felt really balanced to me. As far as the services that were released, I think the one that struck me as the coolest that they're coming out with is the private 5G. Not that I have any use case for it in any way, shape, or form whatsoever, but it just, what a cool concept to be able to come in and, have a dead zone that you need to have consistent connectivity in and be able to deploy your own private 5G network in the shared spectrum, and just push a button and have it done. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That is really not what I thought you were going to say first, but and so just in itself, that's a revelation to me. But so yeah, okay. So this is AWS private 5G, the ability to have your own AWS cloud hosted 5G network. Then obviously you have to have equipment. It can't just be right, and you can have it for your enterprise. What's the use case for this? I mean, presumably it's data, right?
Well, it's consistency of connectivity, I think, is where I see the real value in this, right? If you have, for example, a large conference that you're trying to host, and maybe you don't want to host it in a big city area because of, travel concerns or something along that line, you could get this private 5G network and have it deployed across that whole area that you're holding your conference in for the duration of your conference, and then tear it down and take it away. And it's, you mentioned that sustainability wasn't called out specifically in the talk, but there were threads of it throughout the whole thing. And I think this ties into that thread that you're not getting everything and then throwing it away when you're done. You're renting it, using it for the occasion, and then returning it so that it's more efficient, more sustainable, but still provides that top-notch service connectivity that you need.
For sure. It'd be interesting to see what regions of the world this is available in. I'm presumably North America is going to have this capability. It'd be interesting to see where it is elsewhere. They mentioned during the keynote that it was no license required, or it is in the public spectrum. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that translates to different jurisdictions of the world, but maybe it does. I don't know.
I think it's actually an organizational or an international organization that handles the use of the spectrum for RF signals. Okay. So as far as I'm aware, I know, for satellite communications, uplinks and downlinks and that type of thing, you have to go through an international organization to get your little bandwidth branch that you can use. And I would imagine this one falls within the shared spectrum portion of that. And that means that you don't have to have, like you said, you don't have to have a separate license for it. You don't have to go through specific approvals. That approval process to get your own little wedge can take years to get. But by having the shared spectrum, you can go and use that space immediately. And there's no latency in getting it allocated.
The rollout of 5G in the US is sort of fairly well known for all good and bad reasons. Adam, in the UK, is 5G prevalent these days?
To be fair, for the first time I saw it actually available on my cell phone when I was out the other week. But other than that, it's only in the major cities. So it's not really that readily available. I think they're still trying to sort of upgrade the old existing sort of aerial antennas all over the country.
I suppose it's access to the devices. If devices are out there, then as Jen says, if they want to, that's ideal, right? So you can go and put your 5G capability in a place that makes sense to you. I'm wondering whether this would actually end up being something which would run a long time rather than just for an event, but maybe a campus or something like that wants to have some sort of connectivity. Interesting. Carlos, what's the 5G situation like in Peru?
Well, we are far away from getting some 5G networks in Peru, so maybe this is the time to partner with the oldest partners that we have in Peru, and take all these private G networks and make solution as a service to provide us better bandwidth, or I don't know exactly how to measure this right now, because in Peru there's so bad connectivity. Well, not only in Peru and Chile, all these countries that we have the Andes in the middle, so this is very difficult to communicate. Not the capital or the main cities, but other cities outside. It's very difficult. So maybe these kind of solutions are gonna bring new kind of innovations to spread internet or better connectivity in these towns, because you can imagine how poor is the connectivity, or maybe no internet in some places. And in Peru, Lima and a little cities in the coast have great connectivity, but outside is terrible. And this impacts the impact is very high in, for example, you can measure education and how people are trying to innovate, or to gather some new skills. All is internet based now. So I know this is a big topic, but from my point of view, in this kind of situations, just viewing for another point of view, and
Absolutely. No,
yeah,
hey,
so-
I envisaged like Carlos with your deep races, and you could like get a 5G modem on them, and you could have them roaming around the streets. Let's see a project like that. Hinton's got IoT mining in the outback. So sure. Well, and maybe that's, so initially I'm thinking, I was thinking Bitcoin mining, but no, obviously, but actual mining, in the outback, presumably that's Australia. We're talking about it's similar kinds of scenarios, right, where they just don't have the density of population to have that infrastructure. But IoT, safety.
But they were talking about rugged edge as well. So maybe that's where they're seeing the use cases for it. So on the oil rigs, and like the comment was just then, is sort of these far outflung areas that don't have close proximity to low latency networks.
Yeah, was it part of the presentation that was related to industry? Was it just after that? Because they had that slide up, didn't they? And they were talking about Monitron and Panorama SDK and Panorama Defiance and all that kind of stuff. Was it part of that where they talked about it?
It was when they were talking about things like wavelength. Well, they were talking about local zones, wavelengths, obviously rugged edge, and I'm trying to think. Outposts was the other one. They were mentioning about outposts around the same sort of time.
Actually, it was fairly early on in the presentation, wasn't it? Can be mediated between cell tower and AWS private 5G.
Oh yeah, it was. I think, as you said, I think there is something private specifically for the Nasdaq or something like that. I can't remember. For the financial centers or something like that. I can't remember really. I have the photo. I have to find out.
Yeah, so Nasdaq was the first private company on stage, weren't they? So that's when, I don't know about you, but that's when all heads go down and everybody's ferociously writing notes about what was just written before, because a private company is never going to announce anything new, right? So, sorry, but if any of you ever have go on stage as being a private company, I'm sure to listen. Pretty good 5G coverage in London, and I guess that's So that talks to me about the capability, and the devices are there, but 5G is quite local, isn't it? So it doesn't go very far. So to Jen's point as well about using that for various events. Okay, well let's. I really wasn't expecting to talk about that one first. That's fascinating.
I like to keep you surprised, Mike.
Yes, I like that. Go on, let's keep the surprises rolling. I'm not going to suggest anything that comes next. Adam, what was your top of the list? Now that 5G's been taken off the list, what's next on the list for you?
I think the enhancements to lake formation, probably for me,
Okay.
were and purely because it's one of the projects that I'm currently working on at the moment. So obviously the row and cell level security.
Yes.
I think those will be of great value.
Okay. And is this is very much talking to services which exist elsewhere, right? So we're talking about Delta Lake and what's the other one? The where everybody puts their data. Help me out with the service name.
S3. So S3.
I'm thinking
Glue.
outside of AWS. So we're talking about things like Snowflake and Delta Lake and these types of services. Is this then comes and says, okay, we're keeping up with that?
I guess so. I've not had any experience with Snowflake myself, but certainly from what I've seen of the asks, certainly in the financial sector, clients want to be able to really restrict what consumers are able to access. So not necessarily just doing it at the column level, saying actually in this table I only want them to have access to these, but actually want to be able to filter the actual values that are coming back as well, which looks like how it's being implemented through doing filtering on it.
So for anybody who's watching who's less familiar with lake formation and that kind of thing, can you talk us through just what that is and data lakes in general, just the concepts there?
So effectively, it's about providing a centralized catalog and repository, should we say, for all of your data in an organization, and then being able to distribute that out to specific identities, accounts, based on their needs for filtering that data effectively or access to it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think one of the key things with data lakes as well is that you can put any type of data in a data lake. It doesn't have to be structured. It's not a traditional database. You can put unstructured data in there as well. And the tools that AWS is providing with lake formation is to help enable you to then pull that information out in a reasonable way from both the structured and the unstructured data that you have there.
And it's cheap, right? Because S3 is the underlying storage for it. So rather than keeping all of your data in your relational database or getting a bigger one, just throw it into S3. Never throw any data away, ever. Just put it into S3 because you can pretty much guarantee you can afford it. So yeah, okay. So lake formation, Adam, that's going to be your first go-to thing out of the presentation then?
Yeah, certainly from the keynote. Obviously, I've seen some other things that have come out since, which helped me out quite a bit. So,
yes, so there have been other announcements coming out today as well outside of the keynote. Again, maybe that's sort of taking some of the emphasis away from the keynote and allowing things to sort of be a little bit more spread out throughout the week. That kind of makes sense. Carlos, lake formation. Any thoughts or words on that?
Well, not so much. That well,
it's not my
seriously.
thing, I'll be honest.
These two news about lake formation. It was like, well, that's okay. That's okay. All kind of improvements to the lake formation because it involves not using other third-party platforms and AWS is focusing more using their in-cloud natives like lake formation. But I think these new tools for governed tables or obfuscate data, yeah, it's like okay for me. And
It's okay. It's
yeah,
okay. It's a thing. So, all right, Carlos, I can guess. I'm going to make a guess what it is you might raise. What's your first thing that you'll bring up? We've had
well,
two down. We're playing bingo here, so we've had two
yeah,
gone.
mainframe modernization. That's when
That's not what I thought
everybody
you were going to
is
say.
standing ovation and woo, no,
I
that's
don't even have a
crazy.
graphic for that.
I don't know. That was crazy, and people were just standing and before Adam announcing because it mainframe has different situations, has restrictions, has limitation, doesn't scale, is difficult, so everybody know what is happening.
So this
Uh,
isn't the first time, though, right? This is the mainframe migration into AWS has been. I'm pretty sure it's been in a keynote before. It's been on their radar for some time. So that this is something that we need to sort out. All these sort of mainframe nonsense going on. It's not nonsense, but so all right. So is this front and center for you? Is this something that you're experienced in? Is this a thing going down in South America at the moment?
Okay, no, not so much because I've told you about mainframe because I'm not an expert. I didn't work in anything like mainframe related, but I think it's going to change the market a lot. It's going to, I think, from somehow it is competing against IBM in some way because IBM all the time is all about focusing on mainframes and not going all in cloud and well, you know what it happens when you don't focus in cloud in 2021. You just you know go to the end of the line. So I don't am an expert and I don't have any expertise about in mainframes, but maybe one of you, Atam, Mike, or Jen, have a little more have to say about mainframe modernization. But this is a game changer. In all reinvent, you don't have any news like that. Uh, so
But
in
is it
during the
really
last
a
years, it's
tool
like
or a service? To me, it seems more like another sort of add-on, should we say, to things like the map program. So just migration, modernization, right? That's what effectively it is. So it's either a re-platform or it's a re-host. That's effectively what they're trying to push.
like a
It,
program, right? Like a
Yeah.
program, yeah. Well,
it,
let's
it
see. Let's
is.
see. Maybe we have some automated tools inside. Maybe we can see
Mhm.
other serverless included then to automate the modernization to mainframes. I don't know. I don't know what to expect, but it's big, and let's see what happens.
You're not sure, but it piqued your interest, and you're like, "That sounds awesome." Jen,
Yeah.
sorry, you were going to say something.
That was just the part that I thought was especially interesting about the mainframe modernization is the auto converting COBOL code to Java for you, right? I
You
know that's
missed off a bit
been
there. Java in Lambda functions. That was
Yes,
what they actually said. I've
but
got this envisaging like this like mainframe engineer saying, "You're going to do what? You're
yeah.
going to take my COBOL code and put it into a Lambda
you
function?"
can you can
Excellent.
run COBOL in Lambda right now before this, right? Or not?
You probably could if you put it in a container
Yeah, I
because you
imagine
can run
so. But
containers in Lambda. But yeah,
it's you're
Running
right.
that.
You're right.
to me it's that auto conversion piece because one of the big objections that we've had to deal with as we've migrated our legacy mainframe environment into AWS, which my company's been doing for the last 2 years. um, One of the main objections we've gotten is the risk of trying to migrate that COBOL code and how do you put that out there and how do you make sure that it's still going to work and operate the way that it's supposed to, because mainframe applications being what they are, they're typically business essential type of applications that you really
Mm.
can't afford to have fail. And to me, this seems like this is a big tool to help reduce that risk and to help remove that fear. And we talked, one of the things Adam mentioned at the beginning of the session was that only 5% of all the existing workflows that are currently out there are deployed in cloud environments. This mainframe modernization piece to me feels like it's an attempt to drastically change that proportion.
It's an interesting thing when we work in AWS all the time and we're focused on AWS all the time. And sometimes we just need to stop and think, yes, other workloads are still out there. They're still not in the cloud or in any cloud provider. And yeah, there's a lot of old stuff still out there to shift. So maybe this helps that a little bit. I'm going to pick one. This is, for me, this is the top one. I mean, it's still not been mentioned in this conversation so far. I thought it was the top one anyway. And I did put together a 1 minute and 30 seconds version of the 2-hour keynote, by the way. And I've posted that on LinkedIn and on Twitter. It's not humorous. It's just literally just taking the announcements. Everything fits into 1 minute, 30 seconds. Anyway, my top pick was the serverless Redshift, EMR, MSK, and Kinesis data streams on demand. Yes, not actually quite out yet. It's in preview, but I thought in my mind's eye, I could hear a whole bunch of developers cheering for that one. One question is, why is this not on the top of everybody else's list? But my other question is, what's your thoughts to this? It's another thing kind of going serverless.
I think the data streams will make people's lives easier because they probably won't have to worry about the sharding or anything now because it's going to do it all on demand for you.
And for me, I like to see things like this because I think it just gives an easier on-ramp for people. Yes, you don't have to think about sharding. Also, if I'm not sending any data in, then I'm not paying for it. It's only you only pay for the amount of data it consumes into Kinesis. So just doing the proof of concept, and doing the proof of concept is really important to prove the concept so that you can actually then go and build something else. If the first thing you have to do is provision an EMR cluster with all of this server infrastructure running. I haven't looked at the pricing of how Redshift and EMR and MSK works, but presumably it's not going to be as cheap for massive workloads, but for something kind of small to get started. And I know EMR and something small doesn't really work, but to get started and prove the concepts and just get you up and running, this seems to make sense.
Will that kill off the transactional sort of aspect of sort of EMR though? As opposed to having them permanently running?
I don't think so. I think this is a distinct use case from that, in my mind anyway. I will say, Mike, this was my second most interesting thing. So it almost made that, but you asked for the first most interesting.
Yeah, no, I did. And you know, I asked the question. I wanted to know, and we got insight from that as much as the discussion of 5G as well. I think of all of the things that were announced today, for most of the normal people using AWS, the average people using AWS, that are putting solutions together, and I'm, you know, the hobbyists, the people who AWS is their thing. I think that this is probably the one that's going to make the most difference to those people. And those people are important for AWS because they're the fans, they're the ones that sort of push out the community, they're the builders, they're the rest of it, right? So that was for me why it got put up there.
And I will say, in the other session that I was discussing the keynote in earlier today, this was the top one that came up, and the audience interaction was strongest when we were talking about this section.
Yeah, because it's something you can jump on it and you can actually do it. You can use it. Well, you will be able to use it. It's in preview. Interesting mix of things that were announced that were in preview versus generally available. That is kind of normal. Most things in preview, not very many things in general availability at this point. What was the vibe like inside the room, Jen? I'll ask you. I think you were sat slightly further back. You were mentioning before.
I was, which gave me a nice kind of overall view of what the audience was doing. I will say that when I went to the keynote sessions in 2019, a lot of the people that were in attendance spent more of their time like this than they did like this, which was kind of interesting. And from the back of the room this year, more people were looking up and focused on Atom versus looking down at their devices. So, you know, interesting. We talked about there weren't really any, you know, tremendously huge announcements maybe at this keynote as far as new services, you know, world changer type announcements. But they were announcements that I think are very usable, and they're announcements that go right toward the democratization of these services and these systems and making them available to a broader range of users. And I think that's what was keeping people's interest. I think that was powerful.
And
course.
they were back in a presentation for the first time in gosh knows how long as well, no doubt.
Yeah, that
Carlos.
too.
No, of course, totally agree with that with Jen. The vibe was very very strong. Um, well, it's curious because when I was in this in around me were a lot of people just tweeting about it. Not so many people just focusing on the presentation. Uh, Mostly on the parts when they well Adam was just telling us the story about the nurse, about basketball. People like was, hey, where is the announcements? Come on, I have Twitter right now. How to take the photo? No, yes, it's different. It's different, but most people like the other way. Maybe me and well myself, I really love how the how Adam take the presentation and the you know kind of different things happening in Reinvent. Um, Seems like it's focusing on new kind of things and it's really encourage people to take a look deeper on other things than just presenting a blast of different announcements.
Mhm.
So yes,
Do
very
we
good.
think in general now, though, that like Mike's kind of alluded to? So I remember when I was out there in 2019, there was quite a bit in Andy's sort of keynote. But then when it got to Werner's, there was next to nothing. I think there was like 2 or 3 announcements. Do we think they're now trying to actually split it out across all of the 4 keynotes now? Because obviously we've got Swami and Peter DeSanctis tomorrow,
Hmm.
and then you've obviously got Werner's on Thursday. It kind of has that feel that they are trying to split it out, like you kind of alluded to, across all 4 of them now.
I think so. Like I said before, there was nothing in here about sustainability, and that sort of immediately sent my spider senses off. And I'm like, getting in touch with people saying, "What's going on?" Because surely that needs to have been talked about. And yeah, it must be coming up later. Who was I talking to as well? We were talking to who were we talking to the other day, and it was pointing out that Peter's keynote is probably going to have much more stuff in there as well. That was a theory as well for it to be sustainability led. So yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be spread out somewhat. I'm thinking it is. I'm going to throw up another one now, and this is my joke one. Let's talk about Goldman Sachs Financial Cloud. No, let's not actually. This is obviously a one for me, one that I'm interested in. Carlos, you're probably interested. We're probably all interested in it to some extent. Amazon SageMaker Canvas. There's 2 things that interest me about this. Of course, one is that it is a no-code interface thing for making machine learning projects. I've started to take a look at it literally in the 15 minutes before this call started, and I haven't managed to get very far yet. So I'll have a look at that even more. Also, it wasn't in Swami's keynote tomorrow, so that may be, again, to that point you were making, Adam, or you reflected back on mine. Maybe there's many more things in Swami's that this one sort of popped out the top and got up
Yeah,
to the main one. Carlos.
yeah, different from I don't know last year in Swami we didn't have any explosion announcements. All the SageMaker announcements was all to Andy, but I think this one is like the I don't know the less exciting announcement that I had been in SageMaker. Uh, Looks I don't know I have to say that, but yeah, SageMaker account okay low code or maybe no code, that's okay. I saw that before in other platforms. For not to mention anyone right now. But in other cloud providers,
You
I've
can
seen
mention them. That's
okay,
fine.
okay, let's do it. For example, in Microsoft Azure, we have that kind of service.
Right, hang on.
Exactly
I'm
the
kicking him
same.
out. I'm kicking
The
him
Azure ML Studio is exactly the same as. Uh,
out. I'm kidding.
you know, erase that, please. Okay, it's exactly the same about this Canvas SageMaker. I don't
Mhm.
know. Maybe, for example, Azure starts from there, from creating a no code or really low code platform, and then start working on more in depth platform. and then goes to workstation. No, AWS, Azure Workstation for machine learning that is more complex. But SageMaker go the other way, no, from deep tools from deep learning solutions of data scientists to the low code or and now to the no code platform. I don't know. I have been reviewing as you, and well, it seems very easy. I think like a mix of Data Wrangler, of SageMaker Data Wrangler, a little bit of a little flavor for Autopilot, maybe to just um, not viewing the messy code and the machine learning models building and the one click deployment that has inside Autopilot, and then you have the canvas like a little bit
Mm.
from this, a little bit from there, and then we have the canvas. I don't know how you, I hope you can um, s- share with me your opinions about this canvas. I'm not kind of excited about this canvas.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
What about
Well,
you about that?
they announced it. He announced it sort of talking off the back of QuickSight Q, right? So it was saying, we have these tools that allow you to, with no skill whatsoever, or with business skill but no tech skill, to ask questions and get answers out. Now,
Mhm.
building on that, now we've got this, so you can go and build, actually train models from your data and actually perform analysis and prediction. So I don't, well, I have seen in the documentation, maybe it does produce a model. Maybe you could put that into a live endpoint, but this is mostly about how do I analyze data doing batch transforms and stuff. You're looking on screen
Mhm.
here. This is as far as I've ever got. And now I'm sort of listening to you guys and I'm talking at the same time. I
Well, no,
think I'm
actually,
kind of
actually, Mike.
stuck. I don't,
I'm sorry. No, I was saying that actually you can train your model and then deploy if you want, and take that model from Canvas to SageMaker Studio. So you
you
have
can,
the
right? Sure.
end to end. If you want to continue in more in depth.
So it builds off the back, I think, of Auto ML, which SageMaker Studio had. Well, SageMaker had SageMaker Studio exposed, where you could say, "Here's my table of data. Go train a model on that." The difference there would be it was very much designed for an engineer, a machine learning engineer, because it essentially spat out a bunch of notebooks with the code in it, saying, "Okay, well, we've looked at your code and this is what we think you should do. We've tried 5 different methods. We got the best results with this method. Here, click this button, launch this notebook, and we'll go and do more." So that was interesting, right? So it was meant for someone who knew how to write the code, but it stopped them from having to write the code. With this, obviously, there's no code exposed at all at the moment, anyway. And I don't know if other people can see what you're supposed to do. I can't see what I'm supposed to do next. To move on to the next
Yeah.
stage. So
The
I've loaded in a data set, and I've got some columns, and there you go. Previewing the
Because there's
first
no
column, how it
target
loads.
column selected.
you have to select the target column. Yes,
Okay.
right there.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, right. I don't know what that is in this data set. Is it that one? Oh, right. So this is not interesting viewing for anybody. Me flailing around here, but the point is, yes, you're in this console, which is outside of the AWS realm. It's
Oh,
much more
that's
like
right.
QuickSight, right? With
No,
QuickSight
more
is an
like
app which you go to.
light sail. I mean, it's like the light sail flavor
Oh,
for SageMaker, because SageMaker
wow.
Studio for us is really easy to do, but this is like light sail or elastic being stuck maybe.
Oh man, that's like you're telling me it's like light sail. That's kind of a backhanded compliment. And then you said beanstalk. I don't think you could have said anything worse. Like this team's been working on this all year, and you're telling them it's like
No, I mean,
beanstalk.
well, how and Jane, please.
Oh, people are
Are
saying
you?
it in the comments as well.
We have to, yeah, we have to be
Wow.
sincere about this. I think like it's like the light sail, because no code that you have to with no, anything in machine learning. You don't have any background in machine learning. You start working without a pilot without problems. But why AWS is working in a platform, in a new platform outside of the console that we are get used to. Like
Because it's
Lightsail.
not for you. Because it's not
Yeah.
for you. It's for a data
For,
analyst who doesn't know anything about AWS.
Or is it for the business unit users now to
Yes.
take machine learning more to closer to them?
Yes,
It's almost got
exactly
that sort of Windows drag and drop feel about it.
Right.
Yeah, it feels
It's
like it fits right
it's
in
good.
with
It's
the
good. Yeah.
with that. So the interesting thing for me with this one is, Adam talked several times and mentioned several times about democratizing access to these technologies. One of the things he didn't call out specifically in his conversation, at least not that I recall, is data centricity and making that data readily available, easily available to the masses, and how empowering that can be for the masses. His keynote speakers, his special guests that he featured, almost universally mentioned the importance of data centricity in their presentations. So there was kind of an underlying thread there. And I really think this SageMaker Canvas is a step, to try to simplify that accessibility of that data. So it's AWS is, in my mind, this is the connection that I drew anyway. It's AWS's way of saying, yes, data centricity is key, and we have to be able to provide that for all of our people. But we're going to provide it in a way that doesn't have us using that buzzword bingo, and we're going to provide it with visual, flair and panache, and try to make it look a little bit cooler.
Yeah. Well, it certainly looks better than the AWS console. No offense, AWS console, but that's a practical tool for a job. This is much more end user focused, right? So it is exactly that. It's a quick site version. I'm still reeling slightly at the fact that you called it Beanstalk or Lightsail, because Lightsail and just is synonymous with not particularly the best architected WordPress website. And hopefully this is not built on top of WordPress. No code, less code, already gaining popularity now. Yes, absolutely. And this terminology has been around since forever, right? And maybe we're just getting to the point now where machine learning itself, ignoring the fact that this is a machine learning solution, but machine learning itself can sort of underlie a lot of this stuff. It can understand natural language a little bit more so that it can map that intent to some kind of outcome. What have we got here? It looks like H2O, but simpler. Not familiar with H2O. Who's familiar with H2O? Ahmad, if you're familiar with H2O, you'll have to tell us more about it.
Oh yeah, H2O has like the same SageMaker tools, but
Okay.
it has like an autopilot service. I think. No, well, most of the SageMaker tools are in the H2O platform, but with another, I think it's not so cool as SageMaker.
Sure, you want more details. It's not for you. Leave it alone. Goodness. Mark, thanks Mark for chiming in as well. Just saying it's about what we talked about in yesterday's recap. So Mark and I did a day one recap yesterday. Canvas opens things up to a whole new audience. Hopefully, yes. So yeah, absolutely. So training a machine learning model is it's not that hard for a developer. It's not that hard for somebody who wants to spend a little bit of time sort of understanding that technicality. But it's probably that the barrier to entry, just mentally, even for a business analyst, is too high. It's like, oh man, I can't figure that out. We'll get a highly paid team to go do that. Now, maybe not. We'll have to put it through its paces and see whether that's the case or not.
Well, I think this ties into the conversation that he mentioned also when he said that AWS is committed to training 29 million new people in this industry or in this field of tech. Having tools like Canvas lowers that bar and makes it more accessible for people to start taking those steps and to feel like they can be somebody that learns tech and gets into that industry.
It's all moving us towards that future, the Star Trek Enterprise future, where anybody can do anything. If they can just talk to a computer and it will do the stuff for them. And I'm all for that. Who wouldn't be for that? So, right. I don't know if has anyone got any others that they want to mention? Jen's probably got a list of really obscure things that you thought of that you want to
I'm laughing a little bit because I actually did take notes throughout the whole keynote. So I mentioned that I
Yep.
saw a lot more people looking up than looking down, but I was looking down through most of it because I was typing notes.
Yeah. Yes.
But one of the things that I thought was interesting, again, we've talked about this a little bit, but it's just the thread throughout the whole thing of bringing this technology to a place where it's accessible, and it ties back to that concept of any technology looks like magic when it's advanced enough, but the idea is bringing that magic then to the general population. So hey, you want to have this capability, you can have this capability. You don't have to have all that underlying knowledge. It's buried, it's hidden for you and taken care of. So it's kind of bringing it back into that realm of magic in a way that you don't have to know how it works in order to be able to use it.
Mark coming in there with, have you talked through a computer lately? With a long way to go to get to Star Trek. Yes, but wrapping that into your point as well, Jen. I mean, what we do now does absolutely what we do in day to day, what everybody does with, or a lot of people in the world do today with technology, talking to assistants like the one I've got over there that I won't mention the name of because we've probably all got them somewhere nearby. I don't know about you guys, but I always used to travel with one as well and have one in my hotel room. But anyway, the fact that we can do that, map that back 5-10 years ago, that would seem magical or crazy Orwellian nightmare, one or the other, or both. And so, yeah, you have to keep pushing this boundary, just doing these little bits and pieces. Yes, is Canvas going to replace all machine learning engineers? Of course not. Does it push forward the capability of someone who a couple of years ago all they were using was Excel? Then absolutely it does. And yeah, there'll be other tools that do that as well. And when you're right up there at the sort of the leading edge of the thought in that space, whether it be Canvas or some of those other tools we were thinking about, it's never going to be perfect. But it's never going to be perfect. And it's only when you sort of like 5 years from now, when we're looking at the next thing that's not perfect, and then we'll turn around and go, hang on a minute, yeah, but we've taken these many steps to get here, and look at all this stuff that we've got and we've done and that we're using in our day to day. I think the future's looking bright. Let's be optimistic.
Yeah,
Go on, Carlos.
Yeah,
Don't bring us down, Carlos.
no, that's okay. But in some time from now, like say 5 years from now, autopilot. For example, I'm thinking about to jobs replacement. This is like the open discussion, right? Jobs replacement in we're looking to how AWS are developing and the roadmap of all these AWS services, machine learning services that are just um, most of the time uh, getting our job easily without coding so much, without mm, getting some math backgrounds. Every time less math backgrounds is required. So it's gonna to get some point with maybe it's going to feel like a threat or not. I don't know right now because there's like a lot. We have reinforcement learning that is just like in the beginner state here. No, it's like, but if we see machine learning models, for example, classification models, binary classification, multiple classification, regression, all these kind of things are mostly one-click deployment. And with Canvas and Autopilot, I hope, and I want to know what are your predictions, but I hope tomorrow we're going to see something around Autopilot. Maybe, yeah, I was from last year. I was hoping to hear some kind of the racer thing or reinforcement learning inside Autopilot, and also Lambda console open to run reward functions, not only in the Razor but in Lambda natively. That will be awesome. But as you can see, maybe this kind of easy. I don't want to. Yes, I want to say that the most used machine learning models is like in the classification models, right? Is going to be like one click deployment, no math required, no science, nor masters or I don't know required for this kind of solutions. And this is really cool because Canva is going to the roadmap of Canva. I don't know what it is, but I think in 5 years we don't going to need a machine learning engineer to resolve or to solve or to think about how to solve a machine learning classification problem. It's going to be easy, like deploy EC2 in one click with Lightsail or with Elastic Beanstalk. Bring your own container, bring your own model. We don't going to need that. We have to think in other things, like you said, I don't know, transfer learning, quantum computing, because we are hearing right now about quantum computer, and I think few weeks ago I was talking with an AWS something that work with quantum computer team, and we're talking about quantum ML. So, for example, Penny Lane framework in top of the Amazon brackets to run quantum machine learning. So maybe uh, year to year we have to focus on new things, and the older things is going to be automated, and we as human beings have to think about on the new things, because older things is going to be automated. And if we don't modernize, if we don't learn, and we don't go to the next step ourselves, that is the difficult part, right? Because most of the people stay in their comfort zone, don't learn new things, and stay, for example, as machine learning engineers, you stay in the classification sphere around, and 2 years after, your job is not necessarily um, needed in the company. You have to keep evolving, and that is
You do
why
something new. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
AWS is
But
just pushing around
that's
to going to the next level.
we in our spheres here, we've probably all been sort of close to that for a while. Like, I mean, like none of us work in data centers anymore, I would assume. We've probably all had a go at racking a server. I'm just assuming. Where I don't remember the last time I even saw inside of a data center, let alone went and did anything inside of one. And so we've progressed on and we've moved on, and similar kinds of things will happen in this space as well. Yeah, I generally don't give too many predictions about what I think is going to come up in a keynote, because it's usually wrong and it was never much use doing that. So we'll see what happens tomorrow in that keynote. I think I made a bunch of predictions last year, and I think maybe Canvas was probably one of those predictions. And so wrong keynote, wrong year. So let's not do that.
It's very funny to make some predictions.
Yeah, true. We have had one comment here. Sagemaker Canvas, will it change the way to learn and understand ML that it requires to take? Look, it's not going to be in the machine learning specialty certification. I don't think Studio's even in the machine learning specialty certification. So this certainly won't be. And really the point, I suppose, is that you do Canvas because you're nowhere near doing machine learning specialty certification. So I thought I'd just answer that one quickly, just in case anyone thinks they need to scramble to learn it. Okay, thank you, everybody. Let's just quick what you're looking for in the rest of the week. Adam, what are you looking forward to? Apart from potentially going to bed, what time is it for you? Getting quite late.
About 5 to 11 here, so it's not too bad.
Not too bad.
No. I think I'm looking forward to Werner's, I think, and Peter DeSanctis to see what more infrastructure play type stuff comes out at the moment. Personally, I want to see some more features for Control Tower.
Yep.
But we've kind of already spoken about those offline anyway.
Sure. Now, briefly, what are you looking for in Control Tower? It's your time to make a prediction or a request, in case they're listening. And it's like, we should mention.
I just want to see more of the sort of out of the box things actually integrated or actually built in right from the outset, rather than having to keep bolt things on all of the time.
Yeah.
Make life simpler. They brought it came out. I think it was later in the after the keynote today about the ability to add in data residency type guardrails into it now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Although trying to enable it in my account, it doesn't appear in there yet. So trying to test it out and you can't get to it yet. So from that side of things, I've seen things trickling out gradually over the last few sort of 2 to 3 weeks anyway. So things like nested OUs was one that I think had been cried out for about 2 to 3 years. And that finally came. And then obviously I think it was yesterday they announced the Terraform implementation for Account Factory. So more of those.
Sorry.
Yes, that was awesome.
These technical things are happening in between keynotes, right? They're not jumping up on stage and talking about Terraform. So far, I guess we've only really had one. We've had the partner keynote as well, but that's not really from the way that we had the vibe of that presentation today. It was like big full screen images of people and their stories and their journeys and stuff, and that was interesting in of itself, but not technical. So maybe you'll get those things.
I think the biggest surprise was the fact that there was literally nothing related to security. And given that AWS always preach security is job zero, right? And there was absolutely nothing in the keynote. That just come as a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, maybe we had to wait to Thursday.
Or lake formation, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing fundamentally.
A little bit, yes.
Okay, Carlos, give us what you're looking forward to, and Jen, we'll finish off with yourself. But
Okay.
what are you looking forward to in the rest of the week?
I would like to see how AWS evolves the actual database services that they have right now. For example, we have seen in the other reinvents last year, Aurora Serverless. Um, I want to know if there is an innovation differently. I don't know if they will uh, they will try to build another kind of a different kind of database, because every reinvent we have new kind of database, quantum database, or maybe something related to that, quantum, um, to other kind of industry database related. So I'm excited to what to expect about these new kind of databases. Also, I want um, tomorrow in Swami keynote, I will hope to have different kind of things about how we build machine learning. We have pipelines, automated pipelines with SageMaker pipelines, but autopilot is like we they didn't touch autopilot since the last reinvent. I hope they maybe I am expecting a rebuild of SageMaker autopilot, new features, new kind of integrations. What else that we have to open the Pandora box of the black boxes on in machine learning models? Not also machine learning, just deep learning, and see a little bit of new things about reinforcement learning. I also getting excited about what else
You
we
are,
have.
yes. You
Yes,
mentioned reinforcement learning a lot. You like
a lot,
this,
a
and
lot. Yeah,
you want to see it more.
yeah. I want to see something that make people build deep learning model, because we have in the Midnight Madness Robo Runner. And this is all related to reinforcement learning, to industry, robots walking around doing their things. So this is related to reinforcement. It's like all kind of machine learning, but reinforcement learning to give the capacity to the robot to act itself and do things and enhance the productivity and efficiency of any industry. So I hope I think sounds I know difficult, but I want to know how AWS try to fit that um, expertise, that level of difficulty inside something very simple as autopilot. So I'm
Okay.
excited. I'm excited about this and databases. What else we're going to see about common computer with Bucket, for example. That is something I hope is not a service that just get into the forgotten space right there. Oh, the forgotten services, like I don't know, AWS. What is the data pipeline? I think it is this kind of service that
Right,
nobody
sure.
knows about
There
it.
are there are services that have basically
Yeah,
been lost to history.
yeah.
I was looking, actually, you mentioned databases there, and he was on stage talking about how we have loads of databases. You can't just have one database to do it. Do you need all of them? Yes, you do need them all. I was like,
Maybe.
yeah,
Yes.
right on. And I was looking at the back there. It's like, where's SimpleDB? SimpleDB's dead. And I can't see SimpleDB mentioned anywhere. So obviously, I think that one still does work. I saw a blog
Maybe
post about
you
it the
know.
other day. Someone said, I found a secret service that no one's talking about. So no, we
You
stopped
know,
talking
maybe
about that.
maybe we see something like, tell me what your data is, what your data is, and I will tell you as AWS new service what kind of database is fit better for your data. We didn't see anything like that before, because I told you I have unstructured data and I have these 20 sources, and I'm going to tell you what are the databases that I have to use. For these sources, you have to, I don't know, use Elastic Glue, Elastic Views, and then use DynamoDB and DocumentDB. And for these relational databases as Aurora, Serverless 3, I don't know. And because yeah, we have
I don't think
I
has
know.
two actually come out yet. I don't
It's
know.
like the lake formation for databases for the best fit for your data, and I don't know, maybe it's database formation or something like that. But yeah, I think we
Okay.
have a bunch of databases. We don't know how to use them. If who
Is
is best, which is
Babelfish
best suitable
even
for anyone.
GA yet?
I
Is
think it is
Babelfish for
just
Postgres
about
GA yet?
recently.
Or
I
maybe
think it
something
happened.
something around Babelfish for
Yeah.
Oracle. No, Babelfish for Oracle is something missing. So yeah.
So you've just got a couple of things. I mean, nothing much, and I mean, if they're listening, then there's a. I don't know. If you predict everything, you're going to get something right.
No, yes.
There you go.
I'm good at it. I'm good at predicting things because that's what I love about predicting things. I don't, and before this streaming, I want to hear Mike, Adam, and Jen one only prediction for you. Only one for me,
Oh
please.
wow, okay.
Only
Well,
one prediction before we go.
Adam's had to go with a wish list more than a prediction. I think we need to let Jen give us
course.
her predictions as well.
So
Or no, actually, initially it was like, what are you looking forward to? But if you want to give us predictions, then that's good as well.
yeah, so as far as what am I looking forward to, you and Adam both mentioned that there wasn't much talk about security in the keynote speech this morning, and I agree with that. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about security. We talk a lot about DevSecOps. We talk a lot about how it's a shared responsibility model and how we need to be providing that security. But there's so many different services out there. There's so many different options out there. There's so many different things that you can do and stupid mistakes that you can make in securing your system. So what I would love to see is a more automated, holistic way to integrate security checks, like what config provides and like what some of the other tools provide, into your automated pipelines and make them a part of the system that's just run regularly and transparently across the way. And then related to that, but slightly different, is I would like to see a lot more about ML ops being pulled into AWS and a lot more offerings being provided for that to really enable more efficient production of ML systems. Right now we have a lot of tools available, but they're all kind of disparate. And, it would be great to have a better way to instrument those and to pull them together and tie them together like what ML ops can provide. And then personally for me, one of my favorite services right now, and we talked about it last year, Mike, is Fault Injection Simulator, and I would love to see that expanded more beyond what it currently has. That's an incredibly powerful tool that isn't used enough yet, and
Sure.
I want to see that expanded and grown and made stronger and made easier to embed into DevSecOps pipelines and MLOps pipelines.
But
What would you like to
interestingly,
see?
they did just bring in the Resilience Hub, though, not that long ago, didn't they?
Yeah, and that was a good addition.
And you got Inspector updated yesterday as well, which maybe that leads into some of this stuff, makes that a little bit more comprehensive in terms of that continual monitoring for security. What would you like to be able to see chaotic in AWS that's not currently?
What would I like to see chaotic? Oh, so much. No, honestly, one of the things I would love to see is more of an emphasis on chaos testing for your serverless components, especially with the new expansion of serverless and on-demand to Redshift and EMR and MSK and Kinesis. I would love to see the Fault Injection Simulator expanded to really thoroughly cover those and to enable you to run experiments on those on a regular basis, using the injection simulator, Fault Injection Simulator.
And stress testing also, right? Not only chaos, but the stress testing, performance tests because we have to use third party right now, Jen, for example, for Lambda, but not cloud natively inside AWS. So maybe this is time. I love what you predict. That's really exciting about chaos engineering on the Fault Injection Simulator. I think
we should talk more, Carlos. That's
your
one of my babies.
It is. You because you were using it last year, weren't you? Were you using it before Fault Injection Simulator? You
Oh,
were
yeah,
trying it out? Yeah.
We've been injecting chaos into our environments and into our architectures for almost 5 years now. So
In a planned way.
in a planned,
Yeah.
deliberate, chaos experiments way, not an unintentional, oops, I broke something way.
Chaos engineering, not chaotic engineering, as I like
Right.
to say.
Yes. Good differentiation, Nick. So yeah, we've been doing that deliberately at Parsons for, almost 5 years now, and I would love to see a lot more companies using it in a lot more places. And Fault Injection Simulator again could democratize that and make that more available, but they need to expand it more.
For sure. Okay. Thank you so much for your predictions. Thank you so much for going through some of the announcements for today. Didn't have time to get to the Goldman Sachs stuff. I'm sorry if that's what you were hanging out for. I'm sure there's a blog post about it somewhere.
It felt like even Adam himself didn't have time to go into that one much.
I'm contractually obliged to say this.
Right. Threw it up there and then ran away from it.
Yes. All righty. So tomorrow, Swami's presentation, machine learning, we're going to have a panel on that as well. So we're going to sort of tear apart everything that's happened there. And then there are other keynotes as well. So what have we got? Help me out here. We've got Peter's keynote. That's tomorrow as well, isn't it?
Yes.
And then we've got Werner's keynote, which is after that. And I don't know what day it is because it's not the same day as it is for most other people. And we'll figure it out. Look at
Tuesday.
What was that?
Tuesday?
Tuesday. Yeah. For me right now, it's Wednesday. So who knows? I was up at 2:30 in the morning to watch the keynote. Why did I do that? I don't know, but I felt like I wanted to. So be prepared somewhat for this presentation now, because last year I ended up doing a panel for one of the keynotes, and the way that it was structured, I mean, it did kind of work, was like, hey, I've just got out of bed. What happened in the keynote? Everybody tell me. So I thought I'd do people the gracious thing and actually watch it myself before we talk about it. Excellent. So yes, anybody who's watching, subscribe and all that bell and all that kind of stuff so that you know when these things go live, because they're a little bit ad hoc. They just sort of happen when they happen. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of reInvent. Stay safe and get some rest.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take it easy, guys.
Thanks
Thanks,
everyone.
Jen.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Adam.